Hello. In this video, I wanted to explain a couple of new reports that I've built, and I'm pretty excited about these. I'll show you where this came from. I, like you, probably got an email from the Montana Office of Public Instruction. This is their regular newsletter, and then about partway down, it says, in addition to these engagements, they have released the 24-25 school year statewide data, and they've put that on the GEMS data portal. So I clicked on that. This is a fantastic website with a lot of data, but I'll show you that if you go to the school and district data and this district comparison, and give it just a second, then what comes up is you can click on the statewide assessments, and then you have a drop-down list of 400 plus schools in Montana, and you can just start clicking on those and start seeing some results. And what this shows you is that for all of these different tests, we have the ACTs, English and Language Arts, ACT Mathematics, ACT Science, the MAST assessment for ELA, MAST Mathematics, and Montana Science Assessment. You can see the information for each of these schools that you can pick in the drop down here. So you can kind of see as that goes along, then there's different data for different schools. Couple of things to point out. Clearly, the ACT is for high schools, and so obviously the elementary schools don't have any data, but the high schools will have, the high schools in K through 12s will have data, and the opposite is true for the MAST and the Montana Science Assessment. Those are tests aimed at elementary school students, so the elementaries have data, and then the high schools do not. Also wanted to point out here that all of this data is split up into these categories. It shows you what percentage of students are at the novice level, the nearing proficiency level, the proficient level, and the advanced level, and then obviously gives you an average score for each of these tests. These blanks are the high schools and the ones that don't have any data. And then just wanted to point out that these stars right here indicate that this school has data and they have an average score, but because they have so few students, these novice, nearing proficiency, proficient, and advanced are left blank. And my assumption is that the reason they're doing that is that if they had say one student in the novice level, they don't want anybody to be able to go in and try to guess who that student is. So they leave those blank, but you do get an average score there. So what I did is I went through and checked all 400 and something schools that are in this list here, and then downloaded the data. And what I was able to do with that is create these scorecards that I can share with schools. And so I'm kind of going to go through what is in these scorecards. First thing is that your school name would be right here. I'm keeping these blank so that I'm not pointing out any individual schools. But this data is for the 24-25 school year. And then the comparison group is only small schools. And what I did is, not to go too deep into the statistical analysis, but I did do an analysis of variance test on each of these sets of data to see that there is a statistically significant difference between, say medium-sized schools and large schools. And so as you're doing the comparison, you don't want to compare small schools with large schools. You want to compare just small schools with small schools. So that's what this does right here. This one right here, I split it into two scorecards. One of them is the high schools, and one of them is the elementary schools. So this one just has the ACTs. The other one has the MAST and the Montana Science Assessment data on it. So very, very similar scorecards. But what these do is it goes through each of these individual tests. So we have the ACT ELA test, and then I'm just listing out where this particular school had 9% that were novice, 9% that were nearing proficient, 72% that were proficient, and 9% that were advanced. And so The measure that I'm looking at with this data is adding together proficient and advanced. So this is going to look at what I'm calling proficient plus, and you can see that this 81.7% is just 72.7 plus 9% right there. So this is the percentage of students that are at least proficient. And this school in particular had 81.7 of their students are at least proficient. And when I look at all of the other small schools, there were 34 small schools that had this data. And that 81% puts them second out of 34. And you can see that in this little graph right here. This graph right here represents all 34 of these schools, and this blue bar right here represents whichever school this is. And so you can see that this school is doing actually very well in the ACT ELA portion. And that they are second out of those 34. This right here, this 52%, if you take these scores, all of these scores right here, and just average them all together, you get 52%. So this group of small schools averages 52% that are at least proficient, and that's this dotted line right here. And so you can see pretty visually where your school lies, where the other school lies, other schools lie, and how you're doing compared to them. So very similar over to the right is the score. So for ACT ELA, the average score for this school was 20, and if we go back to here, you can see that for like the ELA right here, they show you your breakdown here and then your average score. So every school gets an average score that is a whole number, and this school had 20, and that puts them 17th out of 77 schools. Again, so you can see if you count down here, this is the 17th bar. So they are 17th out of all 77 schools that had data. If you're wondering why this metric has 77 schools and this metric only has 34, remember as we went back here, some of these schools, and it's not going to show up in this one, but some of these schools had a score but no data over here. And so there were more schools that had a score than had this breakdown over here. So that's why these graphs show a different number of schools. But again, very similar. This, if you average all of these schools together, all of these bars, you get 18.1%, which is this dotted line right here. And you can see where your school compares. Looking down, you can see that the ACT math portion isn't as great as the ELA portion, but this is where you can start using data like this in order to make measurable goals for your strategic plans and measurable goals for your needs assessments and things like that. So looking at this again, just kind of going through this, the ACT math proficient plus, which is proficient plus advanced. So we've got 9% proficient plus 0% advanced is 9%. That puts them 30th out of 36. So that's the down here. This is the 30th bar down. And then the average is 28.8, which is the dotted line right there. And so as you're making strategic plans, this could be something where you could say that this school says in the next 3 years, we will take our ACT math at least proficient to, let's say, 30%, which would be a good, just kind of a nice round number around the average. And so that would be a goal that you could make for your school there. Very similar in the science there. So that's what I think you can do with this data. I'm going to go really quickly and look at that, the other half of this for the elementary schools, which is the MAST ELA, MAST Math, and the Montana Science Assessment. This is, again, comparing small elementary schools in K through 12s. And this is the largest group that I have, and so you can see that there are over 100 schools to compare to that are small in Montana, but it's the same thing. So this school is saying that proficient plus advanced 56 plus 3% is 59%. That puts them 16th out of 107, which is this blue bar right here. I'm going to make it a little bigger. This blue bar right here. And you can see that along with the average of all of these small schools, same with the score. So I don't want to belabor that, but this is the same kind of information as that other scorecard. Kind of wanted to look at what's your school, your report may look a little bit different depending on your school. Remember, we looked at schools that didn't have, that had these stars, but had scores, but no breakdown. That's what this is going to look like if your school is that. So this is a small school that had stars in all of these, and so these are all blank. You see that they do get a graph, but there's no blue bar in here, so they're just, you can't see which school is yours. But these are the rest of the schools that had the breakdown. My understanding is that a school can actually log in to the GEMS website and get that information for themselves. I don't have access to that on the public page, but you'd be able to go in and see that. So if you were to look up your school and see that it was at 40%, you'd be able to see that you'd be about right here. If you had that. But then obviously all of the schools have at least a score listed. So this small school has their score is 18, which puts them 37th out of 77. And then the average for the group is 18.1. Wanted to show one other thing here, just to kind of illustrate this. It's easier to see here, especially with these ACT scores, since these are whole numbers. Each school gets a whole number. A lot of times there are ties, and so this one says that they are 13th out of 29, with this score of 19, and if you count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, this is actually the 13th bar, but the blue one is next to it. That's because these are all a tie for 13th, and so all of these scores are 19, and so this is a tie for 13th, and so this blue bar could theoretically arbitrarily be any one of those. It's a little more prominent on this one here. They're 37th out of 77. If you count down, the 37th bar is actually right here, because all of these are a tie for 37th. So if it makes you feel a little bit better, this blue bar could theoretically be all the way up here. This blue bar could theoretically be all the way down here, but just know that several times, especially in the ACT scores, there is a tie for whatever rank you are, 37th out of 77. There. Last thing I wanted to show you is, if you are curious, I'm not sending this out as a default, but if you are curious of which what 29 schools this is, I do have a report that would list out for each test what the comparison group is. So this is a large school, and if you want to know who the 29 schools are for the ACT ELA, it's these 29 right here. So you'd be able to see that. You are welcome to email me, and I will be happy to send you this comparison group. Again, this data is all public, so you can get to this yourself on the GEMS website. I just thought it would be useful to create a report that would do that for you. If this is a report that you are interested in, or if you are interested in really any of the services that we provide services around surveys, around teacher evaluations, around budget scorecards and things like that, don't hesitate to reach out to me directly at milliganschooldata@gmail.com. Thank you very much.